going.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
Gentlemen
Just for the camera, they're just ladies here right now.
Gentlemen for the camera.
We're going to be doing for sale by owner training today, okay? For sale by owner training is obviously in order to get listings, right? That's the goal here. Okay, but we're going to teach you that there's a major benefit to for sale by owner that you wouldn't get with some of the other sources because there's other ways to make business on it, okay? So with that said, let's just jump right in. I want you guys to go to page 3 for me before we turn on the material up here. And for everybody out there, just listen because you don't have this in front of you, but we can get you a book if you like. So a test of confidence, it says on page 3. And Suzanne, I want you to do this with us too.
Okay.
Read the scenario at the top, guys. There's a room filled with 80 people. You are in a room, there's 80 people in this room, and every one of those people wants to sell and will list their home with a real estate agent. Okay, that's the scenario. You are going to have 20 minutes face-to-face with every one of those people. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be able to talk to all 80 people, 20 minutes each. It's going to take a lot of time, but don't worry about that. It's just an example. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and answer the following questions. Out of the 80 people, how many, and by the way, on the top it says a test of confidence, so that's what this is about, the confidence that you have. Out of the 80 people, how many of those people do you think you can convince to hear your listing presentation? And by the way, these 80 people in this room, you're going to have a conversation with them for 20 minutes, and the goal of that conversation is to get them to meet you in your office and have your listing presentation. Okay, so how many of the 80 people can you convince to do that? Out of that number of people, how many can you convince to list with you? And there's no competition, so all you have to do is prove to these people that you can do a good job in selling their home. Then answer this question, and if you don't know the answer, I would tell you the average is about 70%. What percent of your listings sell? Then you're going to just do a math problem and take the number of people and the percentage of your listings that sell, and you'll get the total number of closed transactions procured from the room. Then what you're going to do is you're going to multiply that by your average gross commission income. If you're not sure, you can use $5,000 or $6,000 as the number. And then that'll give you the total gross commission income from this room that you earned, okay? So go ahead and do that, take a minute, and then we'll go over what your results were. If you have a question or you need flip.
You said 6?
An average gross commission is usually $5,000, $6,000, something like that. Okay, I'm going to start with Suzanne and work my way this way, so finish up as you go. Suzanne, how many people can you convince to hear your listing presentation?
I would think out of that I'd 75 of them.
75, and by the way, again, it's a test of confidence, and Suzanne's been doing this a little while, so I understand that's an excellent number. By the way, all you need to do is let these people understand that you're good at what you do, and they're going to want to listen to your listing presentation. There's no competition, and they want to sell their home, don't they? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So out of the 75, Suzanne, how many will you convince to list with you?
60.
Okay, great. So 60. How many percentage of your listings sell?
95%.
95%, okay. Then how many new transactions are procured from this room?
57.
57. And your average gross commission?
I figured around 6,000.
6,000. Okay, do the math.
342.
$342,000. Wow. Okay. Well, we just did the example. So Barbara, what's your end game number there?
End game number?
End game number.
50.
50 what? $50,000. Little less, right? But is that not bad? Not bad, right? And Giselle, what number did you come up with?
81,000.
81,000. Okay, so we just had 3 numbers spanning the gamut, okay? And the bottom line here is it really depends on, 1, how confident you are in your abilities, and 2, how good you are, and the more you do this, the better you get. But I want you to understand those numbers that you came up with. That is the amount of money that you are leaving on the table by not working for sale by owners. I need to drive that point home, because for sale by owners are a room full of people who will list their home, okay? 80% of them, you can write that number down right here. 80% of for sale by owners will eventually list with a realtor, okay? So if this room started with 100 people, there's your 80 people who will list with a realtor, okay? So by having that conversation, if you're good at that conversation, the more you'll get. This is the amount of money. And you see, even, Barbara, you're at $50,000. You're not even good at the conversation yet. You'll get better the more you do it. But just doing it consistently is going to make you $50,000 more. And doing it at a level like Suzanne is going to make or break a business. But that's the point, okay? And so anybody who doesn't want to work for sale by owners, that's what you're leaving on the table. Okay? So the question on the bottom of the page is, how many people do you know right now who want to sell a home? Right? Go out and talk to these people, okay? You should never wake up and wonder who needs your service, because there are people out there who need your service. And it is a test of confidence. Every time I hear somebody who doesn't want to reach out to a for sale by owner, or even an expired listing, because they don't want to bother these people. What do you mean bother? You do this for a living. This is your profession. They need you. It's not the other way around, okay? So let's jump in. Okay, so this is a source that every single agent can be proactive in, okay? And so that is the key word in the purpose here, to teach a proactive approach for effectively moving into relationships with people who have indicated a definite need to sell their home, right? Nobody can argue with that. These people indicated they want to sell their home, yes?
Correct.
Okay, and another key word that's not even bolded here is relationships. This is what you're doing with for sale by owners, okay? I'm going to take a second now and explain the difference between expired listings and for sale by owners, because they are a very similar source in that both people need to sell their home and want to sell their home, and both people don't really believe you as realtors are going to do the job for them. One, because they've been failed with expireds, and two, for sale by owners, just don't think your service is worth the value that you're charging, right? So it's a very similar source. However, it's also very, very different, because your personality and the conversation that you will have with these people are very, very different. Because expired listings, we're going to call them, right? And we're going to call as many people as we possibly can call, and you're going to have a very short conversation, and they're going to be called by 25, 30 other people, and you have about seconds to make yourself sound a little bit different or say something that will get that person to want to sit down and meet with you. Fast and furious source. For sale by owners is not like that. For sale by owners is much more about starting relationships with people. It's about kind of not even letting them know that you want to get their listing. It's more or less just trying to meet them, help them, show them what you do and how you're different than other realtors. And eventually, as I said, and I'll say this again, 80% of them will list with a realtor. And it may be not today and it may be not tomorrow, but eventually. And when you're the only realtor who's been there for them, you're the one who's going to get the listing. And so it's a very different, much more patient source. You have to have patience with this source. This source will help you establish a pipeline. Most likely you will not be getting any listings today by starting with for sale by owners. But it is a wonderful way to establish relationships. And furthermore, when it goes into building a business, it's really, really helpful, because what's the whole point is getting your name out there, becoming known in your community. And you do that by having for sale signs, and you do that by having open houses, and you certainly will do that by reaching out to the for sale by owners. Okay? Alright. So the expectation is that after this class you should feel confident enough to visit and follow up with for sale by owners. Okay? We need you confident enough to take action. Because here's the problem. Most real estate agents shy away from for sale by owners. Suzanne, have you found that to be true?
Yes, for sure.
And the reason they shy away, why would you say they shy away?
They don't know what to say.
They don't know what to say? Okay.
They're very easy to get into say.
Say that again?
They're very easy to start a relationship with and
They're
to
easy.
get into say.
Okay. So I would say most people shy away from for sale by owners because they look at that for sale by owner sign as a realtor stay away sign.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, actually. It's a different kind of sign. It actually says realtor help wanted.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that sign should read for you. When you see a for sale by owner sign, read it as help wanted. Because what do they want?
Save the commission. Save the commission.
Well, what do they really want, though?
They want to sell, but
They
they
wanna
wanna
sell
save
their
the
home.
commission and then you can get away from it.
What do you do as realtors?
Helping
You sell homes, right? They want to sell their home, you sell homes, seems like a pretty good match, doesn't it? Right? So, and you're right, Suzanne, yes, they want to save the commission. But we're here to show them that, you know, the whole point is to profit, right?
Yeah,
And if at the end of the day they can profit by and get what they want to sell their home,
And get
that's
more.
what you're here for. Right,
Actually, get
exactly.
more.
So, the result here of working for sale by owners, as we saw on the previous page, is a substantial increase in revenue. The strategy we're going to end up using here is called the 5-step follow-up method. So where do you think the key to working for sale by owners is,
Follow-up.
guys?
The follow-up.
I'm sorry, what?
In the follow-up. The key for working for sale by owners is all in the follow-up. Okay, so we're going to show you what the 5 steps are, but just understand, it's going to take a lot of following up with these people. If you are not willing to follow up, to visit these people over and over and over again and make phone calls to them, then this is not a source worth doing. Okay? We're on page 4, we just started. Okay, related classes for sale by owner is obviously listing conversion. Giselle, why is listing conversion important for sale by owner?
Well, because they probably don't have showings. They want to make sure that you're not going to be able to sell their home.
Because we want to get their listing, right? And so eventually you need to be able to be good at that conversation. That's why listing conversion is important. Buyer conversion and marketing is important too, because you can work these people as buyers and you can also use this relationship to get more business. So that's why you want to be good at that stuff too. And right now we're going to read the summary because this is very, very important. See, realtors don't have a great reputation, right? Realtors are known as sleazy salesmen. We want to be different than that, don't we? And so the very key for sale by owner is a very complete and non-threatening approach to working for sale by owners. Non-threatening. Threatening is, you want my listing, don't you? Right? That's what these people are going to be assuming the minute you start talking to them. I know you just want my listing, and that's threatening. So we're going to be non-threatening, which means we're going to make these people believe we don't necessarily want their listing. Okay? Alright. And you also need to understand this is not instant gratification. I mentioned that, but you need to understand, right? Problems only arise when expectations differ. If you think you're getting a listing today by going out and talking to for sale by owners, that's not going to happen most likely. I'm not saying it's completely impossible, but it's very hard for that to happen. Okay? This is going to take weeks. And in fact, the 5-step follow-up method is a 5-week process in and of itself. Okay? Alright. And again, the last thing to remember here is 100% of these people want to sell. 80% of them will eventually list with a realtor. You want to be the one talking to them when that happens. Okay? We went over financial consequences kind of already, but let's just take a look at this. Let's take a look at it as we're just consistent here. And again, Suzanne might be closer to proficient than the rest of us, right? But all of us can make money in this source, even if we're just consistent with it. And what does that mean? It means you go out and you have these conversations. You don't even have to be very good at them. You're just having the conversations. So if 45 weeks are in a year, and you meet 2 for sale by owners a week, right? Brad, you're my mathematician. Do that math for me.
What, 90?
Yes, 90. Good job. 90 new visits.
What?
You're also my reader. Thank you. Set rate, 15%. You meet 90 people, you only make a meeting set 15% of the time. That's 14 meetings. If only 50% of those people give you a listing, that's 7 new listings. And if only 50% of those, which is a very low number, sell, that's 4 new sales, right? Multiply that by your $6,000, and what do you get? Here's where I need your math.
Oh wait, what are the two numbers again?
4,000. I'm sorry.
Okay.
4 and 6,000.
Okay.
4 sales.
Multiply that.
6,000.
24.
There you go, right? It's not really good. So you have
You gotta pay
$24,000.
attention here.
So you have $24,000. You will be called
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
So $24,000 just by doing this consistently, right, guys?
Yep.
So that's a lot of additional money you can be making by doing this. Okay? So that's the bottom line there. And remember, we're coaching you guys to be masters at this. And how do you get from being consistent to being proficient? How do you master
Practice and
anything?
Coming back to class.
Practice and come back to class. Do it over and over and over again. Thank you very much. Okay.
I've got
So-
like a real world question on this.
Yes,
I
okay.
was driving around last week and I saw a for sale by owner sign And it was in a cul-de-sac, and another guy in the truck like told me like, hey, this guy over here wants to list his house soon. So I was wondering, that's kind of for sale by owner, but he doesn't really have the sign yet. Like, what sort of conversation should I have with him?
With the guy who's thinking about listing his house?
Yeah. I haven't really met him. I don't know if I should like knock on his
Yes.
door.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You should knock on everyone's door,
Absolutely.
especially if you have an indication that
Yeah.
somebody might be interested in listing.
Okay.
I would just say I
Absolutely.
sell a lot in the neighborhood, and I was wondering if you're thinking when you're thinking about moving.
In fact,
Okay.
we're going to teach you, and this isn't part of for sale by owner, but we would teach you that
We don't call
What-
it first.
well, if you can get their number, you can try that, but it's much better to knock on the door.
And if they don't answer, leave a card and then call them. They'll try to get their number, but if not, then
Leave it,
Don't-
just leave a card on.
Don't leave a card.
Yeah,
Don't leave a
no.
card.
But if they don't answer, I would absolutely or
At the
something.
doorstep?
Absolutely.
No, just go back. Don't leave a card. It's the worst thing you can do.
I
Oh, what
always
do
do.
I do?
I always do.
It works for, it's
It
different
works
for
for me.
everyone. Yeah, if it works for you, then.
You've been called back by leaving your card?
Constantly.
If I had a
Constantly.
if I had a pretty face like her, I would leave it too.
I would, and then you right on the back, I'd like to talk to you. Give me a ring or something like that, and leave it on the
Okay.
door. They think they just call you and then.
Well, you can, I would say leave a manila envelope with a
You can
nice
do that
letter, but
too.
I wouldn't leave a card on the door. It's
Um,
herd behavior and it's not appreciated by most people.
What, for a card in your door?
Yeah.
Never had a problem.
Anyway, that's part of our training. So what I would say to do is have as many conversations with anybody as you can as possible. And if you
Okay.
get a tip that they're looking to sell, it's even a better
It's even
thing.
better,
So
right.
you might as well, I mean, you might want to take something with you that says, you know, what homes sold in that neighborhood, or,
Okay.
you know, if we...
That's perfect doing that.
Exactly. Not a card, but information about that neighborhood, then I would leave that on their door with your information on it,
Right, okay.
right? That's better because it gives somebody a reason why you did it. You always want to have a reason
What can I get that data? Just Matrix or
from the MLS.
MLS? Okay.
Some people never answer their door like me. I would never answer my door. So
That's
if-
true.
But if
That
somebody
makes
left
sense.
me something on my door to call me, I would call them. Personal. But I wouldn't I get things on my door all the time. I don't find it as a problem. But everyone's different.
Everyone's different. You want to maximize,
Yeah.
you know, look, going out and doing these door knockers and leaving, like, I'm going to tell you, go, I mean, you might as well if you want to. It's not bad. Not going out, that's bad.
Right.
Does that make sense, guys? Look, we can debate this all day, Suzanne, but the bottom line is going out and taking action at all
Yeah.
is
And-
better than sitting in your house and
Yeah.
not doing
For
anything.
sure.
Exactly.
So,
You're always going to insult somebody, let me tell you.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a
It
good
doesn't
point.
matter.
true.
I wouldn't
Sure.
run my business worried about what other people think. You gotta
Right,
go
right.
after
No,
it.
yeah.
That's it.
I was just wondering what type of combo I should have, but that makes it come prepared with like a card at least, or to leave.
The
Like,
comps
I
are
like
great.
the stats. Yeah, I like
Just
that.
keep leaving the comps on if you had to, but you got to be prepared because not everybody answers their door. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
why.
right.
So, and you want to leave something because you'll never get a call if they never answer their door.
I do, but I slam it.
Or leave them a letter. Get their address and write them a letter.
They slam?
If
Write a
you
letter.
don't feel comfortable, get their address and write them a letter and drop it in the mail as soon as you leave because you want to be on that because they're gonna list and they're not gonna. That isn't a buy owner because if they don't have a sign up there buy owner, it's not a buy owner.
You're gonna list,
So
yeah.
they're
It's
gonna,
not
they're
even
listing-
like a buy owner. Buy
That's
owners
better.
have decided they don't think you have any value.
Right.
That's what a for sale by owner has decided.
Right.
This person, you don't know if that's the case. You
Right.
just know they may want to sell that home. So what a lot of agents do, we have agents who will cold call in a way, and that's what it is, but they will find out lists of people who haven't sold their home in a long time, and they will target those people. And they will just have as many conversations with people like that, and they might knock on the door, and the guy goes, I'm not leaving for 50 years. That might be the
Yeah.
case, but they may be thinking about selling, and just starting that conversation with them is going to get the ball rolling. So it's a numbers game. You want to do that as
Yeah,
much
the
as
best thing is
possible.
to get the number and like follow up, maybe with a text every week or something.
Send them 7 letters.
7
So
letters.
see, that's a great question. That's not really related to for sale by owner, guys, but that's why you want to come to class, because we can always
Yeah,
go in any
exactly.
direction
Right.
that you need to know about. So thanks, Brad.
Okay.
This is the no do have page, the planning page for sale by owner. So obviously what we're going to do is the 5-step follow-up method. What do we need to know for that method? A bunch of dialogue, okay? And the good news is this dialogue is stuff that Brad can use in that conversation that he was just talking about, and any conversation to do with buyers, not just for sale by owners. And the stuff you need to have is what's listed there. Most of that stuff is pretty much common sense if you read it over. Is anything there confusing to you? And we give you a lot of that, by the way, through this book, okay? All right. So why visit a for sale by owner? We already talked about this a little bit because 100% of these people immediately want to sell their home. right? It's a target-rich environment. We don't want to look at the sign as saying realtor stay away. We want to look at it like it says help wanted. And there's another good piece of good news here. Unlike expired listings where you're not forming any relationship with these people, if they don't give you the listing, that's the last time you're probably going to talk to them. Here in for sale by owners, we are. And so you actually have 6 ways, not just 1, 6 ways of making money off of a for sale by owner. And that's a pretty exciting thing, okay? So let's take a look at the different ways that you can make money off of a for sale by owner, okay? So way number 1, sell a for sale by owner's home, right? What do they want?
To sell it.
To sell. And what do?
Sell.
You sell homes. Good! So most for sale by owners are willing to pay an agent 3% if they can find them a buyer, right? It's true. Okay, don't ever be afraid to ask that. These people want to sell their home. They will gladly give up 3%, especially if they've been waiting a while, to get that job done. And so when you see a for sale by owner, at the very least, you should talk to them about finding them a buyer. And the first question they're going to ask you is, where's your buyer? And you're going to say, well, I mean, you have a really nice facade, but I'd like to see what's inside those walls, right? And so that's one thing that you can do, okay? Number 2, take a for sale by owner's listing. This is obvious. Right, that's the obvious one, okay? Number 3, work a for sale by owner as a buyer, right? If they're selling their home, they must be moving somewhere else, right? And actually, Brian, our mortgage guy, has a really nice new program where they don't even have to sell their home to get a mortgage on a new home. That's a new program, and that's pretty exciting because most people would have to sell their for sale by owner home, and they're probably not going to be able to do that themselves, right? And so then that becomes a whole cycle where you hope to get their listing and then find them their next home, but if they don't sell their home, they're not going to be able to buy the next home. Well, here we actually have a way where we can help them with that. Barbara, you understand?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm just surprised.
But in either case, that's certainly something you can do. And when you develop a relationship with these people, they may never, ever, ever give you the listing. I love you, Barbara. You ain't getting my listing. But I'll certainly use you to find my next home, right? Because you're a good, you seem like a good person. I don't want to spend money, but it's the seller who's spending the money on the commission, and so I'll certainly need take your help to go find my next home. So there's a good reason, okay? How about get a referral from a for sale by owner, right? How? Well, you established a relationship with them again. So they're talking to everyone in this neighborhood about selling their home, aren't they? Why? Because it's the only way that they can sell their home. They have no MLS, and so they must tell every single person, hey, you know anybody who wants to buy a house in the neighborhood? Right? And so through that conversation, what's going to happen is, somebody's going to say, you know what, I was actually thinking about selling my home also. Oh, really? I'm doing it for sale by owner. Well, I want a realtor.
It happened with me. Like I said, there's a guy in the truck. He's like waves me over because he sees me looking at the sign. He's like, hey, this guy's thinking about selling.
And honestly, I wanted to say the key to that is the fact that he was out in the neighborhood with his badge on, right? Is that how they knew you were a realtor? Or?
Well, I was just in my car looking at the for sale by owner.
Okay.
Yeah.
In either case, he was out in the field taking action, and good things happen. So that's a lesson to be learned. But in either case, right, they're going to tell this person who said, yeah, I want to sell my home too, but I think I'm going to get a realtor. Well, I'll tell you what, Giselle was awesome. I mean, I'm not going to use a realtor, but if I did, I'd use Giselle. And then that's a referral you can get just by moving into relationships with people, right? Okay, how about get a referral for sale by owner, right? Again, they're selling. If they manage to sell, they're moving. Where are they moving to? Maybe Orlando, maybe Texas, maybe California, maybe the Caribbean, right? What do those places have in common? There's a RE/MAX in all of those places.
Okay, yeah, I was waiting for that.
Which means you can get a referral for it, right? They like you. They need help where they're going. Do you know a good agent there? Yes, you do. So we can get a referral for that too, right? And the last thing is provide a service for a fee, okay? What kind of services could you provide for a fee? Anybody
Put
know?
your home in MLS and charge a flat fee for it?
Well, you certainly could, but I wouldn't recommend it.
A lot of people do that. I mean,
Yeah, you could do that. What's another fee?
Help them write up the contract and proceed to the closing.
Yeah.
Open
Percentage.
houses and you can get referrals.
Open houses, you could charge a fee. I don't know if I would because I would want to use that open house as a way to get a relationship with them, but you certainly could. These people think holding an open house is going to help them sell their home. You want to do that for them, talk them into it, charge them a fee for it, not a bad idea. Again, I would use it as a kind of an in to show them what kind of work you would do for them for free so that eventually they'll give you the listing. How about a CMA? Right? You can do that. Give them an idea of what value it is for a fee. So there's lots of different ways to make money off of for sale.
What are the fees?
What would they be? It's a negotiation, but I mean, we can talk about that later as far as what you'd want to charge. I mean, if you're happy getting $10, it's a negotiation, that's all it is. Why would somebody go for sale by owner?
Why would what?
Why would somebody go for sale by owner?
Same one you said earlier, they don't think there's value.
They don't think there's value, they want to save money, right?
Bad
Okay.
experience with a realtor, there's a
Yeah.
lot of different things.
Any number of reasons, but at the end of the day, they're saving 6%, they think,
Exactly.
right? So if everybody were just into saving money, wouldn't we all drive Yugos? Who knows what that is, by the way?
You go?
You don't even know what a Yugo is?
Car.
I know, you know what it is.
What is that?
So a Yugo is a joke of a car from like the 70s and 80s.
Exactly.
It was a very cheap car that they made. So I don't know what kind of car you would use these days. I don't want to put anybody's car down, so I will just say a very inexpensive car. But here's the point. Let's look at our
Pardon.
parking. Thank you, Barbara. Parking lot out there. And is everybody driving an inexpensive car out there? Are there all different kinds of cars out there? Okay. Well, how did Lexus talk these people into spending so much more for their car than other cars?
That guy's better quality.
Better quality, right? What's another word for quality? Value. Right? So they've proven that there's more value to buy this car than there is that car, and so not everybody wants to spend as little money as possible, do they? They just need to be proven that there's a value to it.
Okay.
Right? And so that is what you guys need to be doing. You have to understand, and by the way, it's all on you to be successful, and so if you couldn't get a listing, or you couldn't get 6% commission, you didn't do a good enough job explaining what your value is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's all in the value, right? So it's a perception of values, and for sale by owners, just don't think a realtor is worth the commission. Okay? But it's up to you over time to prove that value. And that is what you're doing by having this relationship with these people, okay? So moving into relationships with them is all about having them self-discover what working with you will be like. Does that make sense? Okay. So then how do we find for sale by owners? Okay? Now that we understand why we covet them, we have to learn how to find them, right? And the easy and the typical way is to call them, okay? So are we going to call them? No, we're not, because we don't want to be typical, okay? We're going to drive by, okay? We are going to drive to these people, okay? Now, why drive by? The first and foremost reason why drive by, most agents won't do that. Most agents won't call them either, by the way, but most agents definitely won't drive by, okay? And two, it's all about the follow-up, okay? And so we drive by so that you can visit these homes near each other, right? And you can do this in the most efficient way possible, right? You're going to be driving to similar places, places you know, places where you like to do your business, right? That's going to be your area, so you might as well get to know all the for sale by owners in that area, okay? So that's what we're going to do, and the key to this is being proactive, okay? So here it is, drive by, routinely driving around a home base. You want to have a home base, right? Brad, do you have a home base?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Barbara, could you start thinking of where a home base could be?
Yes.
Yeah. So you want to take that home base, that's where you're going to start from, and we're going to then move out, right? You're going to look for yard signs, You're going to look for yard signs around that home base, right? And you're going to go 2 miles away from that home base and find every for sale by owner in that area, right? And this is a good exercise, even if you're not looking for sale by owners. You should be driving around your neighborhoods. You should know every street. You should know who's for sale on those streets. Having that knowledge will help you, one, with confidence, and two, when you get into conversation with people, right? So you want to do that anyway. Yeah?
Should it be the same as your farm?
Yes. I mean, it should. Doesn't have to be, but it should. The more you get familiar with the same area and the more people see you operating in that area, the closer you are to people actually picking up the phone and calling you because they think of you as an agent who can help them. So starting that as soon as possible is important. But what you're going to do is you're going to identify all neighborhoods within that 2 mile radius using an area map. You will then move into relationships with every for sale by owner within that 2 mile radius, right? Once you've done that, stretch it out to 4. Once you've done that, stretch it out to 6, and so on and so forth, until you get to about probably 10 miles. I'd say you don't want to go much more than that. Okay, and again, you're going to have to be following up with these people, so you want it to be convenient to do that. You don't want to have to drive to Hollywood and then up to Palm Beach to be meeting for sale by owners. It's just going to be a big waste of time if you do that. Okay? So, there are other ways to find for sale by owners, okay? Some of these sources may no longer really be viable, like local newspapers, but you could still find for sale by owners putting their ads in local newspapers. The Red X and other for sale by owner locating services, these are dialers and things like that, okay, like Arc Dialer and Mojo Dialer. They all come with for sale by owner finding software.
I have no idea.
Well, you will become more familiar with that as you go. But again, it's not the best way. The best way is to drive by, okay? Now, the one thing I want to point out is take a look at E&F. Trash service and mail carriers. Actually, that kind of happened to you, didn't it?
What
Trash service and mail carriers, E&F.
Oh, okay.
Right? How can these people work for you to find for sale by owner properties?
They're driving by, they can wait this.
Right? What do they do for a living? They literally drive by every street on a route, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Every day, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
And so every day there might be a new for sale sign, right? And they can find it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can throw these people some money for doing that, right?
There you go.
Give them a little tip for their service. Nobody has to know it's for real estate, right? But every time they find a new for sale by owner, throw them 20 bucks, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I guarantee you, if you employ these people, they will do that, right? And it's another client you might possibly make in the future and somebody else to refer you. So, just like it happened with Brad. Brad was just hanging out, right? So, that's a good idea too, all right? So, those are ways. Anybody have any questions about finding for sale by owners? Okay. So, here's the structure and the flow. Now that we've talked about how to identify and find them, we're going to move on to the structure and the flow. And there are 5 steps to this 5-step process, okay? But the key is that you are going to follow up. Okay, so 5-step follow-up system. Step 1, visit the for sale by owner, not call. Remember, not call. You want to bring with you an inventory sheet and a seller's disclosure. Why do you want to bring with you an inventory sheet and a seller's disclosure?
So you have to open a conversation with them.
Yes, that's a good reason. What is the inventory sheet going to do for you?
You're gonna be able to keep track of your for sale by owners and get information.
Right? They let you inside of that house, right? You can figure out exactly what that house is all about, and then you can keep track of it, okay? And why would you want a seller's disclosure?
Get the heck out of the seller, gotta give it to them.
Are you joking? Or do you know that that's the right answer?
Serious.
Okay, good, because that is the right answer. You know, scare the heck out of them might be a little rough, but it's the truth, actually. You are giving them an item of value. We are going to find these items of value do something very, very important. They do 2 things for you. 1, they show you are willing to help for free. 2, they are showing what these people do not know. And there's a lot that they don't know. Right? That's why you're...
Disclosure scare them. That's the one I gotta put out.
And if they have anything wrong with the house, you're
they'll get
saying that
sued,
you
right?
have to disclose all this